This episode of Leap TV is made possible by MyLeapTools.com. Think of MyLeapTools as the all-you-can-eat buffet for small business owners about business and branding tips, tools, templates, and killer insights to give you an edge. Coming up on Leap TV, my inspiring interview with Taylor Thoen, where Taylor shares her top business insights. I'm Isabelle Mercier, and yes, you got it. This is the show that shows you that small, intentional, and consistent actions lead to massive results. I'm super excited about our guest today. She is an experienced entrepreneur. She's inspired us, and hopefully she'll inspire you. With a background in business, sales, and marketing, Taylor has spent most of her life as an entrepreneur, owning, investing, managing, and operating successful ventures in numerous industries for the past 20 years. Taylor has been in the TV industry for over 12 years. While in the business, she saw a void for a savvy national broadcast business program. Today, as the host of BTV and owner of CEO Clips, Taylor has interviewed hundreds of dynamic entrepreneurs and business leaders. So, here's my interview with her. Hope you enjoy it. Hello, Taylor. Welcome to Leap TV.
Hi, Isabelle.
I'm very happy to have you here. And first of all, I would like to thank George Moen for this connection. And second of all, I know that congratulations are in order. You are one of the 100 women in Profit 100 of the best women entrepreneurs in Canada. That's a fantastic honor. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. My kids actually asked me, how come you weren't number one? I said, number 47 is good enough. Boys.
Yeah, you know what? Never enough. It's never enough. Well, funny. You know what? I'm super thrilled to have you here today because your story is a very inspiring one to me, and I'm sure will be to our viewers as well. Our viewers are small business owners in full growth, and love what you're doing. I love that, you took an idea, you saw an opportunity years ago, and I will let you tell the story a little bit of how that all started. But sure. You saw that opportunity, and not only did you grab it full throttle, but you're now, I would say, the leader in video, how do you call that? Advertorials.
Yeah, advertorials, but also I would say the niche that we have, and that's really our secret, Isabelle, is the niche is, in our case, it's publicly traded companies. Yes. And even within that niche, we tell stories, for micro cap and small cap companies. So, that's really been our niche. I mean, we could do video. We're all set up and wired here to do any kind of video, and we do a lot of commercials too, but really, again, when we do those commercials, we produce them for that same niche audience. So that's really been, I think that's the reason why we've sort of been, able to succeed, is because we've had that laser beam focus.
And I've been talking to our viewers about laser beam focus for quite some time now, and I knew that you were the right one to really address this subject because of exactly what you just said, right? So you saw that in that niche there was a huge opportunity, and instead of, as you just said, instead of going on and your setup, you could definitely do video for small business, other corporations, ads of any kind, but you chose to really stay really, really tight in that niche. Tell our viewers what that does in terms of benefits around that.
Okay, so I mean, for us, and I learned this a long time ago. It's far better to be a big fish in a small pond than to be, a small fish in a big pond. And so in our space, we would be considered the big fish. There isn't anyone out there that, unless they're a network like BNN or, CBC, correct, but there isn't correct. Anyone out there that creates more video and, video and commercials and all of that combined for this niche population that we create videos for in this publicly traded company space. So companies that are on the stock market, predominantly in Canada, but we also are doing quite a bit now into the US as well.
And you were sharing with me earlier that it all started with a client asking you for some help, and you possibly not even being aware of that. Well, you're aware of the industry, but it wasn't your niche to begin with. So how did that transition, how did that learning curve go?
Yeah, I mean, you asked me earlier about my background before we started rolling, and I'm an entrepreneur. I have a background in business, and I think entrepreneurs really just see an opportunity, and then they if they're passionate about that opportunity, they take advantage of it. And it wasn't a client; it was actually a colleague that asked me to help him bring his television production company over to Vancouver from Edmonton. And so I was intrigued by it because TV is kind of this sexy thing, and I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. And I was on mat leave with my oldest son. And so now this is a long time ago. This is like 16 years ago. So he asked me to help him bring the show over. So I did. And I got to learn the business and work with him for about a year and a half or so. And he created a TV show in Edmonton that he brought over here for KVOS TV here. And it was called EVTV. And it stood for Entrepreneurial Vision Television. It wasn't very successful. And at the same time, he brought another show. He created another show with Dave Chalk called Dave Chalk's Computer Show, which wasn't very successful in the early days either. And what happened was, long story short, my friend went bankrupt. He didn't run his company properly. And being the entrepreneur that I am, I saw a huge opportunity with the concept that he had. And his concept was to focus on the entrepreneur and tell their story on TV. But that had been done everywhere. Everybody does mini documentaries on people. There's a whole network called the Biography Channel that's dedicated to that.
That's right.
And others. And so I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could focus on a business and then bring that down even further and focus on publicly traded companies in the stock market, so that investors can get involved. If they like the story, they could actually buy into that story by buying the stock. And so I created, he went bankrupt 2 weeks later. I created a new show called BTV, Business Television, focused on that business, and hired the right people I didn't know how to do it. So I hired the right people, all talented people who, believe it or not, are still with me today.
That rocks.
My producer, Patty Moore, my cameraman, Lester Lightstone, still two of the key core people on the team that started with me in the beginning. And I flew to Global Television. I pitched it to their national programming director, and he bought it. He bought the show, licensed the show, and here we are. Now, we're not on Global now. We're much more suited for BNN National, so we're there. And we're on Fox Business News Network as well on Sunday nights. And so we're in over 100 million households now on national TV. But, that's kind of the story of how I got started. But it was really just taking, that whole build a better mousetrap that you hear.
Yeah.
It was taking that idea and just, polishing it. And making it something that was just more marketable, and that's really the story of how we started.
And that's really great because you not only did you see the opportunity, but what I heard from what you just said is, I didn't know how to do this. I hired the right people, which is an important part of the secret to success of moving forward in business, is to, not to split yourself in 20 directions, but to actually hire the right people and not being bogged down by the how, but being clear on the what and for the whom, right? Whom and what. That really makes a big difference in the laser focus. Well, that's awesome. I think that is the epitome of taking something, running with it, and doing something really great.
Well, thank you.
That's fun. Congratulations with that. Now, in terms of, as we are talking to small business owners here, what would be the top 3 key recommendations that you would give to our viewers to really help them take their business to the next level? I know it's kind of a big a big question.
I think we've been around a long time, and I already shared with you the market that we're in. And if you're familiar at all with the market, you can recall the crash of 2001, and then the more recent crash of 2008. And, one would think that we would have absolutely plummeted in that space because our, customers didn't have any money. I mean, they weren't spending anything, but, how did we survive is really, and what did I learn out of that experience? And so what we did, and I'll just share the story because I think stories resonate far better than advice.
Yep.
So my experience was, I'll use a more recent one. A few years ago, we had customers that couldn't afford a bigger product and a high ticket item. So we actually created a new product called CEO Clips, which are 90-second. At the time, they were 2-minute, but now they're a minute and a half profiles on publicly traded companies. Because I thought, how cool would it be as an investor, which I am, how cool would it be if you're looking up a company, if you could see their press releases, see their stocks, see their charts, see their volume, but also get a little snapshot of that top executive from the company and see their video. And so I believe that this video should be on every single publicly traded company's site and on all the portals that have this. And so we set out to create a really affordable product to that, and then consequently pitched that to the biography channel. And so they also get exposure on TV, and now they're on the documentary channel, as well as a plethora of financial portals. But my lesson there was that we learned to adapt to a marketplace that asked us to, and that the client was calling for something else. And so that's for us, then we created a product. And so, like RIM has said, they don't make a product unless they've got customer demand for it first. And that was probably my biggest my biggest lesson, is we created that product because the demand was there for it.
Right.
And that made it successful. And then the same thing with our commercials. So then those same companies, they needed some branding, and no one was really doing branding for this space. Not, you see branding for products, and you know what all those commercials look like, but commercials done like in that interview style with a CEO just telling his story. It's a paid for commercial, but he's telling his story. We distribute 200 minutes of those types of commercials a week now out of here. So, it's just been a big, big business for us. And again, the reason why was because we listened to our customers and we adapted to, to what their needs were. So that would be the biggest lesson.
Yeah, I would say that is a very appropriate lesson for these times today. It's an appropriate lesson for any times, but especially today. It's true that listening and adapting is definitely key. Thanks for that. Thanks for the great reminder of that.
You're welcome.
Now, many years later, you've been in business for many years. What would you, knowing what you know today, what would you tell your 20-year-old self that is, kind of starting?
Oh, I would tell my 20-year-old self, hire slowly and fire quickly. That's what I would tell my 20-year-old self, Isabel.
Yeah.
It's more on the personnel side. I've always been very, very tenacious, and always had this unshakable belief in my ability to succeed. And so I don't think I would change any, I could give myself anything more in that sort of department. I'm the same person I was back then. But the big lesson that I learned, and I know when some of my staff hear me say this, they're going to nod their head because they know that it's been a struggle for me. But I would definitely say hire slowly and fire quickly.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It has been such a pleasure, and I'm so happy that we've had technical issues at the beginning of this interview, and I'm glad that we stuck it.
I'm glad it wasn't on my side.
I know. It's all fixed, little techie here at the rescue. But I know we're all very busy, but I know that the gems that you've shared here today, I know that they'll go a long way for my viewers and my leapers. So I want to thank you for your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. And hopefully we might have the pleasure to have you again.
Anytime. Thanks so much, Isabel.
You're welcome.
Taylor, thanks a lot for sharing your inspiring story with us. Here's what I got from my interview with Taylor. I got that first, you got to keep your eyes open for great opportunities. Second, you got to hire the right people. And the most important thing that I'm taking from this interview is this. It is important to be reminded that it is better to hire slow and to fire fast, and we all tend to do the complete opposite. And the last thing that she said that really struck a chord for me is to stay focused on a very, very narrow niche. She said that it's better to be a big fish in a very small pond than a small fish in a big pond. Thanks for reminding us of that. Leapers, it is time to spark a conversation. Here's what I'd love to hear. I want to hear about your success stories. All you have to do is add that in the comment area below this video at leaptv.com. If you've liked this episode, you know what to do. Share it with your friends because that is how we learn. If you have a question, which I know you probably do, don't be shy. Click on Ask Isabel above this video at leaptv.com. Remember that everything you've learned here today will do nada for you, unless, of course, you implement it. So do yourself a favor and implement at least one thing that you've learned here today. Remember, it's much easier to do it than it is to dwell on it. I'm Isabelle Mercier, and I invite you to connect with me via Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I look forward to my next episode with you guys, where I will share more tips and strategies to help you perform like never before. Cheers. This episode of My Leap Tools.
No. Yeah.
She's like, no. Think of My Leap Tools as the all-you-can-eat buffet for effective business branding and marketing tools for you out there, small business owners, to give you insights. I know. I know this. Tell me something I don't.